Howdy, it's Jim Arado, and this is late July 2023. We are going to see the Tecumseh drama, the Tecumseh outdoor drama, Chillicothe, Ohio. I believe the theater is Sugarloaf Mountain Theater, and we're actually driving up to park for the theater right now. We had VIP tickets, and that entitled us to some little perks, including a backstage tour. This video is pretty much going to be the backstage tour. Obviously, you can't film or take pictures during the play because it's copyrighted. This was incredible, though, especially the backstage tour. I totally want to do this again next year, and I want to do the backstage tour again next year, too, because it is brilliant. I'll add a little bit of commentary here and there, but for the most part, I'm going to let our tour guides and the actors say what they have to say. You're going to enjoy that. Their presentation added a whole lot to my enjoyment of the play. A couple things to mention. My battery died right towards the end. I quickly switched over and taped the last part with my phone. So you'll definitely notice a little difference there towards the end. Maybe 10 seconds of audio is missing. Also, if you've seen my other videos, I'm outside a lot. I get rain, I get dust on my camera. When the sun hits my camera lens a certain way, you can see some little specks of dust. Please forgive that. The audio to me is the important thing here. There's a lot of interesting information, and I think you'll enjoy this anyway. But yeah, this was just a real treat, and I can't recommend it enough. So check this out.
Everybody bunch up and come besties.
Oh, he said bunch up.
Yeah, just all around this. Preferably, but I'm not gonna, something. Well, hello!
Hello.
Hey!
Welcome to Sugarloaf Mountain Amphitheater. My name's Trevor. I'm your first tour guide today. This is my first year. I also run the lights for the show every night, so I actually get to sit in that air-conditioned room with the window right there. Before we get started and before we go backstage, I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about Tecumseh. So the man, the history, the drama, and the facilities. Right, so Tecumseh was thought by many to be the greatest Shawnee, if not the greatest native to have ever lived. He was born to the war chief Puxinwa and mother Methotassah on a cold March morning in 1768. Now, near the moment of his birth, a flaming green and white meteor shot across from north to south sky. In Shawnee mysticism, this is the symbol of the panther, a very, very strong warrior spirit. A male child born to a Shawnee was given their name within 10 days, and a female child was given their name within 12. Now, during this time, the parents would look for a sign called an utsuma in which to name the baby accordingly. And when the meteor showed itself to the baby's parents, they felt they had no other name than to name the baby Tecumseh, which translates essentially to panther passing across the sky. Now, Tecumseh was a brilliant diplomat, a revolutionary thinker, and a political and military genius. So by the age of 6, he was already an accomplished hunter. By the age of 14, he had reached warrior status, which was unheard of in any Shawnee tribe. He was also considered to be clairvoyant or psychic, like his sister Tecumseh, brother Chicxicka, father Puxinwa. There are actually accounts that he predicted the New Madrid earthquake of 1811, which would have measured up to an 8.0 on the Richter scale. But with all the promise Tecumseh showed, he would never be principal chief of the Shawnee Nation, because the Shawnee Nation was actually a loose confederation of about 5 septs, and each part had its own role to play to the tribe as a whole. So there were the Pickaways, who were responsible for maintaining the religious traditions, right? The Makajays, who were principally hunters, but also maintained the medicines for the tribe. The Kispakotha, who were the trained warriors, and the Thawagilis and Chillicothe, who were the political and governing parties of the tribe. Now, Tecumseh was Kispakotha, so he was a trained warrior, right? But he wasn't a Thawagilis or Chillicothe, so he wasn't trained to be a leader. So a lot of his own people didn't really want to follow him in his plan, which his great plan was to go throughout the nation and gather up this huge alliance of all the tribes in the nation, go to the American forces and demand that they return back east. Now, if he could continue with this plan, all the tribes in the nation together would have mounted to a force of 50,000 warriors at the time, compared to the U.S. troops of only about 12,000. So he would have had his demands met if he could get all of the tribes united and together. To do this, he would have to travel from tribe to tribe. So he was on and off from the village of Tippecanoe for about 10 years. While he was gone, he left his brother Tenskwatawa in charge of the village. Tenskwatawa, also known as the prophet, in charge of the village. He gave his brother explicit orders not to engage the American forces in combat. And if the American forces were to advance upon their position, then they were to retreat and wait for further instructions. However, on November 7th, 1811, at 4 a.m., Tenskwatawa prematurely engaged the American forces. This is what's known as the Battle of Tippecanoe. It was a major battle at that time. The U.S. forces were under the leadership of William Henry Harrison, who later became our 9th president of the United States under the campaign slogan "Tippecanoe and Tyler too." So it wasn't necessarily a military defeat for the natives. It was a moral defeat for them. So the natives only lost about 38 warriors compared to the U.S. loss of 166. But it was a moral defeat. And a lot of the surviving warriors of the battle just went home. They went back to their own tribes carrying defeat and Tecumseh's inability to lead. Tecumseh had no idea this was going on because he was away gaining more support for his plan. So when he did return, he found his plan was in shambles, completely ruined. It took him 10 years to build, Tenskwatawa destroyed in a single day. When he returned, he felt he had no other choice than to join the British, who were fighting the American forces at the time in the War of 1812. So the Battle of Thames, Ontario, Canada is where our show will end tonight. Major battle of that one. Right, so geographically speaking, this is about where the Shawnee would have settled. They were principally nomadic, but they did receive the Ohio region of land from the Miami for helping them defeat the Iroquois in battle. And actually, Chillicothe translates to Chillicothe, so this would have been one of their central areas. Our stage is built on the side of a mountain, if you couldn't tell. It's reminiscent of sort of like a Greek theater, right? And a lot like a Greek theater, the acoustics travel very, very well. So we do not have to mic our actors every night with individual microphones. They rely solely on their voices and vocal projection to be heard. We also have a lot of trees that act as a wind barrier to also, again, help with the acoustics. And it gives us something really nice to look at, too. It's pretty large. We start over to my left at the artillery stage, where those cannons are. We'll travel down stage left ramp, stage left promontory, and then it'll empty out into the main stage. We have a pond behind that stage, and then a back path behind that. We have our stage right promontory and our stage right ramp. So throughout the night tonight, you'll be shaking your head yes and no a lot. You'll be no a lot. New to the space is our digital surround sound system. It was designed and installed between the 2021 and 2022 seasons. It took about 2 months to complete. It consists of our main speakers right there, the big rock-looking things. We have 2 speakers on either side. You can sort of see one behind that tree. And then an array of speakers in the back, all along the rain shelter. So each speaker has its own unique channel. And what we can do is we can have sounds playing from in front, from behind, or from either side. And this is really helpful for when we want to create sound effects, and we want it to sound like there's more, explosions than what there really is. So we're hoping that you won't be able to tell the difference between what's live and then what you're hearing through the speakers tonight. You'll probably also notice some microphones along the edges of the stage. For 49 years, we've done without any microphones at all. Those microphones are there for the quiet room located in the back, and also for us to hear for cues, for cue calling. And also to help with some actors in the back as well, in their dressing rooms, so they can hear what's going on. Cool. Native American actor Graham Greene provides our narration for the production tonight. He's most noted for his role as Kicking Bird in Kevin Costner's film Dances with Wolves, in which he received an Academy Award nomination. It's also rumored that he was actually here recording during the Academy Award, but I don't know if that's 100% true. That's just what I've been told. Our soundtrack for this evening's performance is entitled Reflections of an Indian Boy. It was written and composed by Carl T. Fisher, who's also part Native American. Fisher was an arranger and collaborator with Frankie Lane, who wrote Rawhide and Mule Train. Well, upon completion of his work, Fisher actually passed away, and Frankie Lane donated the rights to the soundtrack to Tecumseh as a tribute to his friend. It was then taken to the London Symphony Orchestra for recording, so I like to think that the same musicians who played in Star Wars also played in the soundtrack you'll hear tonight. Cool. Are you all ready to go backstage?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what we'll do is we'll get up, we'll go down the steps, and then up those smaller steps, and we'll meet on the nice, hot, sandy stage. Fun fact, we use about 500 pounds of black powder throughout the entire season. We have 2 propane tanks hidden in the back for our fire pits. That being said, no smoking. Try to stay on the sandy part. If you venture off in the sides, you might get poison ivy, and that's not fun.
You guys sell the soundtrack in the gift shop or anything? That's a great story about
No,
the
I
soundtrack.
don't know. That's a question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. And just a couple of very quick notes while I'm thinking about it. This was kind of a group backstage tour, so my camera work's not going to be perfect. No budget video. And also, as you could tell, I didn't want to point the camera directly at our guide because he was right next to me, and I thought that might make him uncomfortable. I got some great audio from him though, which was my goal. And man, was that some great information. I asked him about the soundtrack, and if they sold the soundtrack in the gift shop. They do. I bought a copy. It was $12. I'm glad I own that now. And he's about to pass us off to one of the actresses who will be in the play later tonight, and she is gonna give us some more interesting information. If you like blood, stick around because she is gonna demonstrate the kind of fake blood, how the fake blood works in the play. And spoiler alert, there is a lot of blood in this play. Really enjoyed hearing from our first guide, though. He told us, about the narration and the soundtrack, and that really helped me appreciate the play even more later on during this performance.
Hi everybody, my name is Elena Rosales. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. I will be playing Leaning Tree in tonight's performance. And I'm going to be giving you the Backstage Left tour, as well as just some of the things that maybe you guys don't know about our production. So I'm going to start with these big rock-looking structures that Trevor had mentioned. These are our proms. These are not the original ones. The original ones stood for about 25 years. However, 48 hours before an opening night, the stage right prom completely collapsed. It was made out of 2x4 wooden frames, chicken wire, spray foam, and painted to look like rocks. So after they fixed that one up, they decided to contract AKM and Chillicothe, who built these for us. Combined, they cost $300,000. They're made out of cement, and hopefully they will not be falling anytime soon. So, this is our living pond. You'll probably see fish, probably hear toads. It serves 3 major purposes. The first is just to enhance the scenery, like Trevor was talking about with the trees and everything else does. The second is that we have a boat that comes from stage left to stage right, and the third is that we have a horse that swims through that back cut at the beginning of our show. It's a common misconception that this horse is just walking through the water. However, the pond is 9 or 10 feet deep, and with all the rainwater we've been getting, probably a little bit more. So he definitely is swimming. His name is Colonel, and he loves to swim, and he's going to come through here and open up our show. Take you guys back this way. Awesome, so this is just the back side of those proms I was talking about, and then this is just another side of our pond. You'll see that we have a boat. It's made out of aluminum. This is not exactly time period. During Tecumseh times, it would have been made out of solid wood. However, that's heavy and difficult to maneuver, so we opted for this one to get them on and off very quickly. We only have one, and you'll notice that there's not a motor. We are paddling it ourselves in the Is Life Theater, so whatever happens tonight is just whatever happens tonight. But that's the boat that we use. This is our tech shed. It's got 3 parts. That one right there, we can't go in because people will be getting ready soon, but it's our principal's dressing room. It's got everything you could possibly need during the show. There's costumes, headpieces, blood in the fridge, bathroom, anything you can need. It's just for the larger characters in our show who need to do quick changes and who can't go too far away from the stage. This portion is where the rest of us do our quick changes. Our official dressing rooms are down 50 yards in the Actors Village, but this is just where we can do it so we don't have to walk up and down a hill. You'll see that there's like racks and just all sorts of groups and things. And then on hot days, sometimes they give us Gatorade, so that's what we use yeah, it's not that cool, but this is where we get ready. This is our prop shop. You'll notice that in tonight's performance, 85 to 90% of the props that are used were actually created here on the mountain from things found on the mountain. So torches, spears, the whirlpool at the end of Act 1, those are all from the trees that are on the mountain. The whirlpool is a tree that fell this year that they cut down and painted, and that's what we use for the hawk run. So you can't go in, but I encourage you to take a look and see the kind of things that we keep in there.
Oh, there's a skeleton there.
Awesome, so this is where we hitch our horses. The horses are hitched between 5:45 and 6 p.m. every single night. That's their call time. It's the same concept as the principal's dressing room. These are the horses that have the most frequent amount of rides or not a lot of time in between the 2 rides, so they can't go too far away from the stage. Over there is where we hitch the horses that have longer time in between, or they just have fewer rides total. Also, Colonel is the alpha, so he gets the star spot. So we have 9 horses that are currently on property. However, only 8 are in the show. The youngest is Phyllis. She's new this year, so she's still getting acclimated to the barn, being trained year long anyways. And then there are also a lot of loud sounds in the show, which is something that horses need to become acclimated to. So she'll hopefully be in it next year. She's doing a great job, but she's just at the barn. All horses are kept at the barn that's a quarter-mile down the road, which is where they go through training year-long, but they also go through the exact same amount of rehearsal process that we do. So we had 15 days of rehearsal, and they did as well. We had riding calls every single day. A lot of us knew how to ride horseback, maybe, but not a lot of us have ever ridden bareback, which is a completely different beast. So that's what we were working on for all of our days of rehearsal. You'll notice that there's only one ride in the entire show that actually has a saddle, and it's not even a common saddle that's used today. So it was definitely a learning curve and something that we were working on. Oh, they learned through repetition. So we went over their tracks with them multiple times, and there was a story of a horse about 5 years ago that was mounted by their actor, and right before they were supposed to go on the horse, the actor fell off the horse, and the horse heard its cue, ran to its mark, and continued going through its entire track without realizing that there was no one on its back. So our favorite thing to say is that they're actors, and sometimes they do their job better than we do. So this is where we keep them. If you guys look right behind you, this is our lower back path. This is the back path we take if we don't want you guys to see us, but we need to get to the other side of the stage without walking around the side of the mountain. And then this over here is the back path we'll be taking to the other side of the stage, and that's the closer back path. It's what we take when we do want you to see us. So horses, torches, you guys call them. Horses, torches, people, anything and everything will come through this. It's pretty cool that we're larger than they are, or that there's no movement that there actually is. The 3 most common types of blood that we use in our show. So this is called mouth blood, or a mouth cherry. It's just syrup mixed with red and blue food coloring that's been wrapped in cellophane. Sometimes there's even cocoa powder in it, so it tastes like chocolate, but it's kind of just every once in a while. So the actor puts this in their mouth before they go on stage, and upon impact, they bite down the plastic, and the blood spews from the corners of their mouth. If you want to mimic an internal rupture, you can actually spit the plastic back out, which is really gross, but it's very tiny and compact, and that's what's in the actor's mouth. This is a blood egg, so it's the same concept. It's a chicken egg that's been drained of its contents, filled with the same blood compound, but it's also mixed with baby shampoo and then resealed with hot glue. This one is hit up against your forehead, and when the egg breaks, it mimics skull fragments. And when the blood falls down your face, it shouldn't burn because it's been mixed with baby shampoo. So that's that one. This is a blood knife. As you'll notice, it's not a real knife. It's not sharp at all. And from far away, you can't see it, but there's a pouch right here that holds the blood. It's the same blood compound, but instead of baby shampoo, it's been mixed with soap. And then there's a tube that runs up to the top of the knife. So from far away, if I'm squeezing, and pulling down. But it's mixed with soap, so then it comes off really easy underwater. A lot of us play multiple characters in the show, and in one scene we might die, and then in the next scene we're supposed to be completely fine. So it's really important that we have blood that can come off at least enough so that the audience doesn't see it from far away. Sometimes on stained red, but like for the most part, comes completely off. So that's why we use those, and those are some of our little tricks. I'm leading tree in the show, so I don't have a demonstration for you guys, but it's my favorite one to talk about. I have a blood sponge, so it's just a sponge that's been dipped in the same compound, and I put it up against my side when I breathe in. When I breathe out, I squeeze, and it creates bubbles, which just mimics a different type of wound, which is also really gross. But make sure you guys are looking out tonight and see if you can tell when we're using what. But these are the ones that we use if we're cutting or having the injuries happen on stage. There are some where we walk out and we already have blood on us, but you don't see it until we're ready for you to, but these are just the ones that we use in real time. So, yeah. I'm going to walk you guys to the other side of the stage, talk your pyro, and see if you can
And absolutely love the story about the riderless horse. That was worth the price of admission right there. And I love the demonstration about the fake blood. I used to love going to see wrestling matches growing up. I also loved horror movies, and that was just kind of a fun little explanation of that. And you can see the little man-made lake here that's sort of between the main stage and kind of a backstage. Some of the actors would go where we're walking now and be part of the play. It was very layered. Very several different layers and levels, which really added to the wonderfulness of this play.
So I always like to stop right here before I hand you guys over, because right here is the path that connects the lower to the closer, which is the one that the horse takes. As well as we sometimes get one of the common questions is, what is that tower up there? It used to be where our stage manager sat to call the show. He doesn't anymore because of sightlines. It made it difficult to see everything that was happening on stage, and for safety reasons that wasn't the best. So he's now back in the rain shelter by the lighting and the soundboard that you probably saw as you came through. He has a very important job. We have just so many things that could go wrong or that actors should not be too close to. So he won't call something if we're too close, just to keep us safe. But if you see him tonight, say, "Hey, Richard." And I think that's it for mine. I'm going to hand you over to Connor.
You could start faster, or do I just listen slowly? I think it could be a combination of both. Yeah.
Hey y'all, how you doing? Y'all want to keep following me down here. Like I said, my name is Connor. This is my second year here at Tecumseh. I am originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, and tonight I will be playing Captain Dawes. If y'all want to follow me, I know it's a bit sunny out, so if y'all can stay in the shade, I don't mind. I'm sort of filling in around this canoe to fit everybody in here. Y'all want to imagine a line from the end of that canoe to that greenery. Stay behind there. Alright, while y'all are filling in, if you look to your left when you're coming around, you see the cinder block wall. This is actually one of our masking walls. Masking walls help out us as actors because it helps us deal with sight lines. Basically, the rule of sight lines is that if I can see the audience can see me. And if I'm not supposed to be on stage and y'all can see me, then I'm going to get in trouble with my boss. So we like to use these walls to mask whatever movements we have to do backstage if we're not supposed to be seen by y'all. Another thing I want to point out is one of our burial biers right here. This is one of our two largest props here at Tecumseh. Props or properties are anything that an actor carries on or off stage with them. Burial biers were a way that many Native American tribes, not just the Shawnee, would honor their dead. They would build a platform roughly 6 to 7 feet tall, and they would place the body on top of it. If it was a warrior, they would open their mouth slightly to allow for an easier release of the spirit. They would also adorn the bier with various weapons, such as tomahawks, shields, spears, whatever the warrior used in real life, because it was believed that that was what they needed. Now I'm going to give you all a quick demonstration of the weapons that we have here on Chillicothe Mountain. If y'all like to fill in more, you're more than welcome to. I would just suggest staying behind this imaginary line at the end of that canoe there for me. First weapon I want to show y'all today is the Brown Bess military musket. This was a British weapon that was used all around the world in the late 1700s, and in tonight's performance, both the Americans and Native Americans will be using this weapon. This is a smooth-bore muzzle-loading weapon. What I mean by smooth-bore is that the inside of the barrel is as smooth as the outside of the barrel. Now, when I'm loading this weapon, I'm going to take this shell, which is preloaded with 140 grains of 3F black powder. I'm going to pour it down my barrel. Now, if I was a real frontiersman in Tecumseh times, the next part of my process would be using something called a patch. A patch is a small metal ball that's wrapped in a piece of cloth that would then be shoved down the barrel of my weapon. So you can imagine, if you got shot by that, that would really hurt, which is why we don't use that. These were intended to maim, injure, and kill, and we don't want to do that to our actors. So, instead of using a patch, we use wads of grass instead. The wads of grass are beneficial to us because they create a nice loud boom whenever the weapon is fired, and it disintegrates almost immediately once it's fired out of the barrel, so you don't have to worry about getting shot with any projectiles while you're trying to act on stage. So I'll shove that in my weapon, and I'll grab one of these metal ramrods and shove it down and pack it in as tight as I can. I like to pack it down a little more than I might have to, because if it's a little bit too loose, your powder is going to fall out. And when you have costume changes and props and horses to deal with, having to start over reloading your gun is a pretty big hassle. Next thing I want to show y'all is the mechanism of this weapon. This is a flintlock weapon. As y'all can see here on this piece called the hammer, there's a piece of flint. When I pull the hammer back to full cock and I pull the trigger, the hammer will fly forward, causing the flint to strike this piece called the frisson. That will create a spark in the weapon, which will fall down into this little piece right here called the pan. That spark will then flow through a small hole in the barrel called the touch hole, which will ignite the powder in the weapon, causing the weapon to fire. Now, the very last thing I will do in loading this weapon is I'm going to take 4F black powder. I want to fill that in the pan. This is a slightly finer grain of black powder, and it's going to help my spark reach the barrel just a little bit easier. Now, before I fire this weapon, I'm going to yell firing. So everyone on the mountain knows that I'm firing this weapon on purpose and I'm not trying to hurt anybody. Now, if y'all are sensitive to loud noises, I would suggest covering your ears because this weapon is quite loud. Firing!
That's loud.
Okay, Connor.
Yeah?
Okay,
I'm in the middle of a tour. Is this going to be long?
I know, but I just need to tell you really, really quick that I actually need to run to the store tomorrow and buy you a new Barbie shirt for the movies.
Barbie shirt?
Yes, because when I went to the store, like I went to Route 21, like in town, like literally yesterday, and they didn't have anything else. It had like completely sold out. So then I was looking around and somebody said Connor has one. So
Oh, okay, all right. Can we talk about this after tours?
I mean, yeah, but you're not gonna have a shirt to Barbie.
Okay, can we talk about this after tour?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later. Sorry, y'all. Very rude. The next weapon I want to show y'all is the Kentucky Hunter's Rifle. Now, there are two main differences between this weapon and the Brown Bess. The first is that while it is still a muzzle-loading weapon, it is not a smoothbore weapon. The second difference is that this weapon is a rifle. What that means is that along the inside of the barrel, there are these little grooves that, when fired, gives the projectile a bit of a spin and then lets it travel further with more accuracy. This process is called rifling. And in terms of accuracy, if you handed a good marksman a Brown Bess, they'd be accurate for roughly 75 to 100 yards, bless you. And if you handed that same marksman a Kentucky, they'd be accurate for roughly 100 to 150 yards. Now, I had already loaded this weapon beforehand, so I'm just going to explain to y'all what my process was. So I'll take half the amount of black powder I used for the Brown Bess, so 70 grains of 3F, and pour it down my barrel. Then same as the Bess, I'll take a wad of grass and shove it down the barrel. Now, as I'm sure some of y'all noticed, there's no piece of flint on this weapon. That is because this is not a flintlock weapon, but it is a percussion weapon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these small little brass caps here, put my weapon at half cock, then I'll place this brass cap on this piece called the nipple. When I pull the hammer back to full cock and I pull the trigger, the hammer will fall back, striking the nipple, striking the nipple, which will create a spark. That spark will fall down into this piece called my drum, and that spark will go into the barrel, causing the weapon to fire. Excuse me, we got new caps today. So, how are y'all enjoying your tour? It's going all right? Technical difficulty.
Let's talk about the Barbie shirt.
Yeah.
I'm upset about. I don't want to talk about it. I'm upset about that.
Everybody, are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm using Shank's gun today, and he was
Right,
complaining
do I
about the
need to do
caps
pyro?
not being able to go on. Huh?
I need to do pyro, is that what you're saying?
Honestly, if you can get this cap on, I'd be impressed. You know, I thought Shank was complaining a bit too much. But good God Almighty, I think I ought to go back to my gun from now on. Holy crap. If y'all are watching the show tonight and you see Mr. Galloway, that's our friend Shank. That's his gun. He's a stronger man than I am, clearly. Alright. Now, before I fire this weapon, I'm going to yell firing. Same thing with the brown vest. Now, this weapon is quite loud if it does go off. So I would suggest covering your ears before I fire. Firing!
Okay, so I didn't come out to only make fun of what you...
Honestly, I deserved it after that one, yeah.
Okay, I was just also wanting to let you know that I need to give you money also for cheese because I was making a grilled cheese today and I didn't have any, and you did. So I did use it, but it's not like that expensive. So just
Okay,
add
alright.
zeros on to the
Can we
margin.
please talk about this later? I need to wrap this.
I mean,
need to
like,
wrap
are you
up
going to
this
be able to
floor.
fire the next gun? Or...
I will because there's no cap on this gun. I don't have to. Thank you, though. I appreciate you mentioning that. Always looking out for my best interest at heart. Okay, the last gun I'm going to show y'all today is the 12 gauge shotgun. Now, if you are familiar with weapons, I'm sure you could tell me that this was not used in the late 1700s, early 1800s, which is why this is a weapon that we use backstage instead of on stage. Now, there are two very important reasons that we use this gun. The first is that there are shots that have to happen in every single performance. We have characters that die on stage, and unfortunately, these weapons are not as reliable as we would like them to be, and apparently, neither are our actors. So, we have these 12 gauge shotguns backstage in our stage left and our stage right stage manager's hands, and they're available to back up any necessary shot that can't go on because of a misfire, or fire accidentally, or anything like that happens. So, my safety is on, shut my weapon, turn the safety back off, and now I can actually fire the 12 gauge shotgun.
Connor, you know someone named Shelby?
My girlfriend?
That would make so much sense. She sent you a letter. It was like in this cute little like care package with like all I assume your favorite snacks, but there was also a gift card.
Wait,
to my
did
favorite
you
place.
open my girlfriend's
And
care
I
package
didn't
for
know
me?
that you knew that I liked Starbucks that much, but it was really cute. The letter was very, very sweet.
Wait, you read the letter too?
Unfortunately, it was thrown in the trash. But
Why'd you throw it in the trash?
But
I
I
remember-
it to you. It's really not that complicated. My dearest Connor.
No, I don't read it. You know what?
Sunday
Fire
morning-
it! Yeah, I got that gun right. Yeah, I just shot at you. Yes.
You just shot.
Y-E, yes, yes.
Connor, you shot.
You're on my side, right?
Are you crazy?
No, are you crazy?
Dude, gun safety 101. Don't shoot at me.
Personal property safety 101.
No, you can't just shoot at someone. We're literally doing a tour.
Well, you asked for it. I don't know what to
You're
say.
being ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
You, Connor. Now I know your mom taught you better than that.
Apologize, and now the fight is over.
Yay.
Owen and I are not actually mad at each other. She didn't steal my Barbie shirt, because I would be actually upset with her if she
I got
did.
my own. I got my own, guys. I got my own.
Don't hate her. That was just an example of stage combat, which is something that y'all be seeing in some of the scenes and all of the battles in tonight's performance. Many of the actors here are actually recognized by the Society of American Fight Directors for their stage combat. Now, before Elaine and I do any types of choreo or any types of punching, there are two things that we want to do. First thing we want to do is to make eye contact. Elena wants to know when my moves are coming, and I want to know when her moves are coming. If I'm looking at you and she's about to throw a punch at me, that's not exactly going to end up well for me. So eye contact is how we maintain communication on stage without being able to actually talk to each other. The second thing we want to do is to get a nice low base. This gives us a low center of gravity and helps us stay on our feet just a little bit easier. If I go over to push over Elena, she's not budging. This just helps keeps the fight a little bit safer and a little more stabler. Now, for the first move that I do, I want to take my rifle, prep it all the way back here so y'all and Elena knows exactly what it's about to come next. When I prep this weapon, she'll see the prep, duck, and only when she ducks is when I swing my weapon. If I have my weapon prepped and Elena doesn't move for whatever reason, she could have forgot the choreo, she could just be in a mood, or for whatever reason, she's not moving for that day. If she's not moving, I'm not swinging my weapon. I could be sitting here for hours. The show could be over, lights come back up, y'all go home, and I'll still be sitting on stage just like this. Because we never want to swing anything at anybody that either A, they aren't prepared for, or B, they're not moving out of the way of. We would much rather look silly than have one of our actors get hurt. So, I prep my weapon, she sees it, ducks, and then I swing to the removed target. For the stomach punch, she's going to be using a technique called negative energy. She'll be placing her fist on my tummy right here. That doesn't actually hurt me, it just creates a nice loud sound like that. And then she's going to pull back with twice the amount of energy she did coming towards it, making it look like she punched me in the gut as hard as she actually could. And if I don't react, you can see that I'm fine. Just a little bit awkward if I don't react. But if I do react, it'll look like I got punched in the gut. For the roundhouse block, watch what happens if she throws this punch and I don't do anything. Nothing. That's because she threw that punch off target. This is another one of our, this is one of our other safety precautions in case I forget the choreo or I'm in a mood and I don't want to work with Elena today. So no matter what happens and I don't move from that spot, I'm still not going to get punched in the face. What makes the move look good is the removal of the target and the block. And when I block her forearm, I want to make sure that I'm blocking the meaty part of her forearm, not her elbow and not her wrists, because that could actually hurt Elena, and when we're doing stage combat, we don't want to actually hurt our partners. And for the groin kick, it's the exact same technique as a stomach punch, negative energy. I'm going to be placing my foot along the bottom of her thigh right here and pull back with twice the amount of energy. If she doesn't react, you can see that she's fine. But if she does react, it looks like she got kicked somewhere no one wants to get kicked. Now the last move is my personal favorite because it is the least amount of work that I have to do and I'm lazy. For the hair pull, all I have to do is take my fist, take my hand, put it into a fist like this, place it on her head, and then she's going to do all the work for me. Make it look like I'm making her head this way and that way when really I'm kind of just letting her lead me. Thank you.
Try this at home, kids.
Please don't. We are trying to do this. Please don't try this at home, kids.
Yay.
Does anyone have any questions on the pyro or stage combat portion of the tour?
Yeah, and how about that? That was great. Real quick, this is kind of a pan of the stage from our seats. We were in the 6th row, which was incredible. They don't even sell, I think, the first couple of rows because it's so close and there's so much action. But yeah, we were thrilled with our seats. Here's a picture kind of from the back as the audience started filling in. We were here on a Saturday. They had a very good crowd here. There's another kind of panoramic from the back area, and just a couple more shots of the theater, as the crowd starts pulling in. With our VIP tickets, there's a picture I took from the stage. With those VIP tickets, I want to say it was maybe a little over $100 for my wife and I to go and do the VIP experience. Absolutely worth it. Totally. In fact, I would call it a good value. We really enjoyed this. We enjoyed everything that came with it. Just everything was incredible, and we were thrilled. But with that ticket, you each get a sticker, you get a keychain, you each get a drink, a pop or a water, which they sell those for $4 anyway, but you get a free one with your purchase, and they give you a little cloth bag, one per party, to kind of keep stuff in. You also get a program or a poster, and those are good for getting autographs at the end of the play. And just some pictures around the venue. Of course, there was the Frankenstein advertisement earlier. Obviously, in the off season, they're trying to do stuff to keep this place active even when they're not showing Tecumseh. This was their little kind of restaurant dining area. They had food that I would compare to maybe a ballpark. They had pizzas. We had pork sandwiches, barbecue pork sandwiches. They were $8 each, made to order. The fries, the little side basket of fries there was $4. World waters were $4, and actually I didn't think that was a bad deal at all. For an event like this and for a venue like this, I thought that was more than reasonable, and just a great venue. I can't stress how much we enjoyed this. The acting was great. It was just active the whole night. The actors come out and do autographs and photos after the play. And I did get my program autographed, and the actors were humble and sweet. They asked us where we were from. The kids obviously loved them. Adults like myself loved them. Just a great time. In fact, I could go on and on about how much I love this play, but they just did a great job. And if you're thinking about doing this, it's Chillicothe, Ohio. It's not far from Columbus. Short drive from most places in Kentucky. Just a lot of fun and a great night of theater. It was President Harrison. He posed for me. I thought that was funny. Anyway, we had a wonderful time, and I would like to do this again next year. And this definitely gets my highest possible recommendation. So check that out, Tecumseh in Chillicothe, Ohio.